All right, good evening. I call this meeting of the Bastrop Independent School District to order. Let a record show that a quorum of board members is present and that this meeting has been duly called and that a notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. This time, if you'll please stand for the pledges and a word of prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
If you'd please remain standing with us tonight, we have Reverend Dr. Amy Menke of the Bastrop Calvary Episcopal Church will offer our opening prayer for this evening. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good job on getting my name right. I was ready to jump in.
Got a very good script.
All right, y'all. I am so happy to be here tonight. The first part of the prayer, I'm going to be talking, and then towards the end, I'm going to ask you all if you feel comfortable to join in. Very simply, hear our prayer. So I'll say, God of peace, you say, hear our prayer. God of, okay, you'll get it, you'll get it. And if you don't feel like joining in, that's fine. I hope some people will, but let us pray. God of grace and glory, we thank you for entrusting the Bastrop Independent School District to us. We heed your calling to serve, to be just, to be responsible, to seek excellence in all we do, to be curious, compassionate, consoling, and courageous, to build community with care, love, and joy, to honor and value the person, to model respect, all to give honor to you. May our school communities be places and spaces of hope, welcome, kindness, and discovery as we give witness to your unending love for us. May our school communities experience and exude gratitude and forgiveness in equal measure as we give witness to your unending love for us. May our words give witness to your unending love for us. May our actions give witness to your unending love for us. God of peace, hear our prayer. God of wisdom, hear our prayer. God of mercy, hear our prayer. God of love, hear our prayer. Amen.
Thank you. All right, moving along to our student speaker on character education trait for April, which is self-discipline. Dr. Lee, would you please introduce our student speaker for this evening, please?
Yes, absolutely. I'm happy to. Tonight we have Isabel Rosales. She is a bright and motivated fifth grader at Lost Pines Elementary. She is supported each and every day by her loving family, including her sister and brother. She is actively involved in school through choir, PALS, Girl Scouts, art club, and sports, enjoying how these activities bring balance and fun to her strong academic focus. Isabel especially loves choir, sharing that it feels good to offer my voice to the world. As a gifted and talented student, she takes pride in her learning and always gives her best effort in all that she does. In the future, Isabel hopes to discover new things and use what she learns to help others, making a positive difference wherever she goes. Isabel?
Good afternoon. My name is Isabel Rosales, and I've come here to talk about self-discipline. Self-discipline can mean many things, such as your manners, behavior, and even your attitude. Self-discipline is one of the most important skills in your life. But have you ever thought about what it truly means? Self-discipline is great at public places. It is used at restaurants, stores, and should mostly be used at school. Self-discipline is a great thing in the classroom. It allows teachers an easier way to teach. It also brings quiet for those who are learning. It is also very important at home, especially around family. For example, just because you're mad or sad doesn't mean you can't give bad attitude. Negative words are a not good thing to say. In conclusion, self-discipline is a good skill in life, but at the end of the day, it's your choice.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Isabel, stay there. Isabel, stay there just 1 second. Come back up to the microphone. So can you introduce who you have with you here tonight?
I have my mom, my dad here.
Mom and Dad, can you stand up? And I think I see your principal. And I think I see your principal too.
Oh, yes.
Can you introduce who?
It's my amazing principal, Miss Swingstaff.
She is amazing. Thank you very much, Isabel. And Miss Rodea, she has a little gift for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's give her another round of applause.
Sure.
I also wanted to just recognize a couple of other students that we have with us on the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, representing both sides of our district, actually. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Guys, if you'll just say who you are and what your grade is and where you go to school, and maybe, how the week is going.
Mason Mix. I'm a sophomore at Cedar Creek High School, and my week has been pretty good so far.
Okay.
All right.
I'm Jack Tucker. I'm a freshman at Bastrop High School, and my week is going good too.
Thank y'all for being here. We appreciate it. All right, moving along to our recognitions. We have Cedar Creek High School State Powerlifting, as well as Bastrop High School State Powerlifting and Bastrop High School Boys Soccer regional finals. Elliot Allen is our presenter tonight, our Director of Athletics. Coach Allen, good to see you.
Thank you, and good evening, Dr. Lee and Board of Directors. We appreciate the opportunity to celebrate the successes of these athletes. We've had a number of students that have qualified for the state powerlifting meet, which is a difficult thing to do. And then our boys soccer program at Bastrop High School has had a historic year, and so we wanted to recognize those things. And I'll let their coaches introduce their team. Starting off with Cedar Creek Powerlifting, Coach Savoy.
Thank you for having us today. We really appreciate it. This year's state powerlifting qualifiers are Lena Cancino, Elijah Fackler, and Julian Salcedo.
You guys want to come up here, face the audience so they can see you?
This is Alina, Elijah, and Julian. Alina is a senior. She's actually a two-time state qualifier. She finished second at the regional meet in the 198-pound weight class and beat the state qualifying total of 875 pounds in 3 lifts. She lifted 910 pounds, which is impressive. Elijah is also a senior. He finished third at the regional meet in the 165-pound weight class and qualified by bypassing the state qualifying total, which is 1,300 pounds. He lifted 1,415 total pounds in the 3 lifts, which is extremely impressive as well. Julian is a sophomore. He was in the 114-pound class. He finished second at the regional meet and qualified for the state meet. They're outstanding athletes as far as great lifters. Alina's also, believe, first team all-state academic. Oh, you're elite all-state academic as well. So, corrected me. So they've done a great job. It's been great coaching them. Looking forward to coaching him. Maybe be up here 2 more times in the future. So thank y'all very much.
Okay, Coach Harlan with Bastrop Powerlifting.
Madison Young is a senior this year and has been on the BHS ladies powerlifting team for the last 3 years. Madison is a 3-time regional qualifier. She finished first at the regional meet in her weight class this year, which qualified her for state. Madison competed well at state, finishing 6th with a total of 855 pounds, and it's been an honor, a real honor to have Madison for the last 3 years. Thank you.
And then finally, I was really hoping that Ashley had to say this again this year, but I get to announce Coach Winew. You struggled with that one last year.
Oh, yes.
Coach Winew and Bastrop Boys Soccer.
You guys can come right up here in the front.
Let everybody see that big trophy.
That's a lovely picture right there. All right, well, good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Lee. I think you're behind Gael over there, and members of our community. My name is Coach Winew, and for the past 2 years, I've had the honor and privilege of coaching these fine gentlemen at Bastrop High School and with the boys soccer team. I'm joined tonight by a few of our players from our program who helped make program history this season. Together, they earned a spot in the regional championship game, a milestone never before achieved by a Bastrop boys soccer team. While we are incredibly proud of this outcome and of obviously the success, what I truly want to highlight to you tonight is the process that made this possible. This year, we expanded our program to include a third team, making yet another first for Bastrop soccer. The growth is a testament of the countless hours our players and coaching staff have dedicated to building a culture rooted in 3 core values in our program: ownership, accountability, and responsibility. We call this holding the oar, OAR. The success seen on the field this season was a direct result of the character these young men demonstrated in the daily training, in the classroom, and in their homes and in their community. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight for this recognition. We are grateful for your continued support of our student athletes, and we are ready to put in the work so we can stand before you again next year to celebrate even a greater accomplishment. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. All right, moving along to our Bastrop High School Skills USA Aviation and Audio and Video State Competition. Would like to note that BISD nor the board has a company jet, okay? Because I had to ask Dr. Lee if there's something that I've been missing, and I think that may tie into drones or something. So with that here, we have Raina Ellis, our Director of College, Career, and Military Readiness. Welcome. Thank you.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Lee. It's an honor to recognize these outstanding CTE teachers and students. They recently represented our district at the Skills USA State Competition in Corpus Christi. Their hard work, commitment, and countless hours of preparation truly reflect the excellence of our CTE programs, and we're incredibly proud of all they have accomplished this year. So at this time, I'd like to ask our auto tech teacher, Mr. Headley, to come up and introduce his student who went to state for aviation.
Members of the board, Dr. Lee, hi, good to see you up front now. So happy to be back for a third time to showcase our three-peat as far as aviation is concerned. Again, I'm an auto teacher, not an aviation teacher, so all this is him. Competition was very swift this year, and seeing this young man compete against high schools that have dedicated aviation programs just goes to show his future and what he can accomplish. So keeping it real short and sweet, thank you for the continued support, and yeah.
And next, I'm pleased to introduce our audio video production teacher and our Bear Nation TV sponsor, Ms. Jenny Hobbs. In her first year, Ms. Hobbs has revitalized this program with tremendous energy and vision, and we are excited about the opportunities she has created for our students.
Hello. Okay, first I want to introduce these guys. So whenever I say your name, if you can just wave and let them know who you are. Maeve Clark, Marlette Torres, Breely Hobbs, Wyatt Gonzalez, Chris Cavanis, and we don't have him with us today, but Daniel Gravel, he's doing some theater tech interviews right now. So, well, a little bit about what we did. This year marked a major milestone for our audio video production program at Bastrop High School.
It was our first year to compete in Skills USA, and the students advanced all the way to the state level. The Skills USA state contest in Corpus Christi was an incredible experience for our students. They competed against some of the top programs in Texas, including magnet schools, charter schools, career and technical education schools, and even large 6A campuses, and they rose to the challenge in every way. Our TV production job exhibits and short films earned the highest possible rating at the state level, Superior. This is a top distinction award and reflects exceptional level of skill, creativity, and professionalism. Our video news production team also had an outstanding performance, competing in a fast-paced, high-pressured, live production environment. From story selection, script writing, anchoring, floor directing, and technical directing, our students demonstrated true industry-level skills. But what makes this accomplishment even more meaningful is that this is our standard they have now set, not for themselves, but for the future of our AV program. I'm incredibly proud of these students, their work ethic, and most importantly, the way they represented Bastrop ISD there. That's it.
Awesome. Thank y'all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, moving along to our Global Seal of Biliteracy recipients. We have Cheryl Pinkston here, our Advanced Academics and LOTE Coordinator. Welcome.
Hello. Good evening, Dr. Lee and board. I'm proud to announce that 76 BISD students have been awarded the prestigious Global Seal of Biliteracy. This is an international language certificate that recognizes and celebrates their level of proficiency in 2 or more languages. This certificate was earned by either scoring a 3 or higher on the AP Spanish language exam, or by achieving a score of 5 or higher on all 4 sections of our STAMP language assessment. Our award recipients from our campuses are being shared on the screen right now, and currently our families are tuning in to a live stream. There are 76 students and families, and so to fit them in the boardroom would have been a challenge. So they are watching tonight live, and their names are going to be displayed on the screen for each of our campuses. We want to thank these students and their families for their hard work in developing language skills, and we're thrilled to see that their efforts have been recognized. Because this certification not only celebrates their accomplishment, but it opens doors for them in academics and the global job market. This seal is more than just a certification, it's a passport. It allows recipients to showcase their language skills to any school or employer across state lines and international borders. In today's global economy, proficiency in multiple languages has tremendous value, and employers want candidates whose skills are verifiable and comparable. We are so proud of our Bastrop ISD students, and they are part of this global community. We congratulate our students on this significant achievement and look forward to seeing the opportunities that their Global Seal of Biliteracy will bring them in the future. We have our first slide up, so I'm hoping we can translate and show the others from each of our campuses, because these students really did an outstanding job. As I close, I would like to express my sincere gratitude for the opportunity to work with our advanced academics and world language students. As I look forward to my retirement this June, I will carry this memory of this experience with me as a highlight of my career. Thank you.
Ms. Pinkston, thank you for your service and good luck with your retirement. And hopefully it won't last long and you'll come back and help out.
That is the plan.
That's perfect. All right. Fantastic. Moving along to open forum, we had no one sign up, which takes us to item H, which is a mission moment, which is the future of virtual education. Our presenter is Jennifer Eberly, Chief Academic Officer. Welcome.
Okay. Good evening, school board and Dr. Lee. When we launched Mission Moment, it gave us, at the beginning of this year, it gave us the opportunity to highlight our programs, celebrate our successes, and share how we're addressing challenges that impact our district. Tonight, I'll focus on one of those challenges, how we're responding to it, and close with some exciting news for BISD as we look ahead. The landscape of public education is changing, and families are increasingly seeking options that offer greater flexibility for their students. During the 89th legislative session, Senate Bill 569 established Texas Education Code 30B, creating a policy framework for virtual and hybrid education. This framework gives school districts more flexibility to align instructional offerings with their goals and to maximize operational capacity. It also expands virtual and hybrid options to better meet the diverse needs of our students and families. Now, before I keep going on, I'm going to clarify some language used by TEA. Virtual education refers to courses that are 100% online, while hybrid education allows students to take some courses online and others in a traditional in-person setting. Districts can implement these two models either within what's called a school within a school model, meaning we connect it to an existing campus, or as a standalone campus, which does require additional approval from TEA. As more families seek a virtual or hybrid model for learning, it's important that BISD explore flexible, high-quality options that complement our traditional instructional model. So let's take a moment to look at BISD's virtual learning journey. This work has been shaped by thoughtful internal discussions and planning, along with valuable feedback from our businesses and community partners. We've also listened closely to input from the homeschool community and studied the experiences of other districts at various stages of implementation. Through this process, we've taken a close look at our own data and evaluated the systems we currently have in place to ensure we're ready to support a sustainable expansion of virtual learning opportunities. So you may ask, why now in BISD? As you'll see in tonight's data from Zonda, and sorry if I'm stealing your thunder, we're going to see a growing interest from families who are seeking virtual options outside of our school district. Through our engagement with the community, we've also heard strong support for expanding into these opportunities, especially at the secondary level. At the same time, we recognize that demands around how and when students learn are ever changing. And most importantly, the landscape of public education continues to evolve. Districts must adapt to the needs of their communities while also retaining and recapturing students within their attendance zone. Altogether, this creates a timely opportunity for us to respond in a way that meets the needs of our students and families while positioning Bastrop ISD for the future. So our goal for virtual learning is to provide a rigorous and flexible option designed for organized, self-motivated students who thrive in an independent online environment. We also aim to recapture students who live within our district boundaries who've chosen to enroll in a program such as this across Texas. We want to partner with our homeschooling community to provide an option that supports and aligns with the needs of families who have chosen that educational pathway. As I shared at the beginning, the state's expansion of virtual education is for districts to have greater flexibility in aligning programming with their vision and goals. With the addition of virtual learning, Bastrop ISD's focus remains the same. We're going to strengthen our accountability rating and maintain a strong academic foundation for all students. Our virtual academy is included in our state accountability ratings, which makes it essential to establish a strong instructional system. We also need to ensure that we admit students who are well suited to thrive in a virtual learning environment. Whether our students are learning in person or online, one thing remains the same: we are still on a mission. So here's the exciting news. For the 26-27 school year, we're planning a pilot for 6th through 8th grade virtual academy using a school within a school model. This will be a program of choice similar to something like Circa and will require an application process. It will include both a fully virtual option as well as a hybrid option. Initial enrollment will be limited to 200 students district-wide, which is approximately 50 per middle school campus, depending on interest. The virtual option will be available to both BISD and non-BISD residents and will be 100% online. The virtual model will only be available to students who reside within the Bastrop Independent School District attendance zone and will provide them with access to extracurricular opportunities, including UIL athletics and the performing arts, band, choir, dance, and theater. Our goal is, following the successful completion of the 26-27 pilot, to expand the programs to grades 9 through 12. There are many components that go into building a program like this, but there are some really key elements we need to note. We will provide asynchronous academic instruction using high-quality district-approved curriculum. This will give students flexibility in schedules and how they complete their work while still maintaining clear pacing expectations and deadlines. Students are required to attend virtual school daily. TEA does provide flexibility in how and when attendance is taken within the virtual school day. Final guidance on attendance procedures will be provided by TEA in the near future. They have not set those completely yet. In the virtual academy, there will be regular check-ins, instructional support, and monitoring from certified teachers. The support received can take a variety of forms based on the needs and progress of that student. Students attending virtual school are required by TEA to take academic screeners in person at the beginning, middle, and end of the year, as well as the STAR test. This will be held at an in-person testing site set by the district. Students will adhere to district technology usage policies, and hybrid students will be able to participate in the UIL extracurricular only at the school that they are zoned to. So we are ready to kick this off, and the application will open from April 24th to May 15th. All applications and supporting documents must be completed before the application will be considered. Applications will then be reviewed, and families will be notified by email regarding acceptance into the academy. Please note that students living outside the district boundaries will not be eligible to participate in extracurricular activities, although they can still enroll in the fully virtual academy if they meet the eligibility requirements. Here's the thing, we learned a great deal from COVID online learning, including the importance of ensuring virtual learning is the right fit for students in order for them to thrive in that environment. To support student success, there will be several factors considered when evaluating applications. Families will need to evaluate the student's readiness for independent virtual learning. The application will include questions and information designed to ensure families fully understand and make a commitment to the expectations of the program. Students need to demonstrate grade-level academic success by meets grade level on STAR or an equivalent placement exam administered by Bastrop ISD. Daily attendance, completion of tasks, and maintaining pacing in a course is vital to the success in virtual learning. Therefore, attendance will also be a factor in the application. We will also complete a review of discipline data, including technology-related infractions. If approved for the Bastrop ISD Virtual Learning Academy, students will then be required, if not already enrolled, to enroll in Bastrop ISD. So if that's somebody you know that fits the profile of a successful virtual independent learner and are ready to take the challenge and be a part of the next step for Bastrop ISD, like I said, applications will become available beginning Friday, May 24th at 4:00 p.m. on the district website. And any questions that families may have can be emailed to virtuallearning@bisdtx.org. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Yep.
So I actually am excited about this. There are quite a few, I just wanted to make a comment for the public, there are quite a few districts around the state who are utilizing this option currently, or they are leaning into this a little more heavy. So there are some other districts coming online, as BISD does as well in the next school year. My question is on the 200 students that we're taking, was middle school, what was the, just sort of the thought process between you all on starting with 6 through 8?
We looked at varying things. We also looked at what other districts were doing, and starting off. Middle school, our main discussion was starting something and starting and doing it well and starting with a solid foundation. And so with the intricacies of high school, middle school, setting them up for success seemed like the great place to start to lay the foundation with there. Also, it's not an area that districts around us are also doing too. So it provides us that we're offering something that maybe others don't. And also from the community feedback we got.
Okay, and then on the, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
And then the high school expansion, is that a grade level per year or all of 9 through 12?
We're still evaluating what we're going to do moving forward in the expansion. We've been talking with everybody from Round Rock to Waco to Hallsville ISD, all of the ones to see what they're doing and how they expanded out. And so we're still making determinations on exactly what that will look like moving forward.
Okay, and then just as the living outside the district wouldn't preclude you from applying, the same would hold true for other districts. They could, I guess, theoretically apply with another district that's open to that as well. So
Yes, if they're taking applications.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes.
Jennifer, that was kind of my question. Are students that live within the district and currently go to BISD, will they be considered first before outside the district, or how will that work?
We'll look at that once we get applications in. The main goal, like I said, is to recapture students not already with us. So looking at students that are already seeking an option somewhere else, or we had a strong input from our homeschool community and providing an option there. So we're accepting all applications, and then we'll make determinations once we see how many we get.
So if they live in the district or out, and they are one of the 200 and enroll in this, are we getting their average daily attendance?
We are getting their average daily attendance.
Although we may not be getting their property tax because they live outside the district, but we're still getting the average daily attendance.
We will get ADA funding, and that's what the state hasn't fully set, is how we're going to take their attendance every day. But as of right, yes, we'll get the ADA funding for these students that are coming into the virtual academy because they will be BISD students.
And through your studies or research here, what do you think the number one attraction to this is? Well, why would a student want this or a parent want this? Just out of curiosity.
Flexibility. Flexibility to adapt and to do things and to be a part of extracurriculars, but still have the flexibility with coursework. That's kind of the major things that we've seen so far from our feedback from families.
Okay. And then Mason and Jack, any thoughts on this? I mean, this is evolving while y'all are in school. I know you got sports and possibly athletics that keep you there and on site, but I mean, have you heard of your other friends or people that you've known that this may help, or this may be something that's valuable?
I haven't really heard any of my friends talking about it. I think a lot of people that I know would stay for extracurriculars like sports and stuff.
Okay.
I really haven't heard any of my friends or anyone in the school talking about this. Yeah.
Awesome. No problem. Thank you.
So I have a question. You said it's flexible. So are the teachers live, or is this they have to get through the coursework by the day? Do they have to punch a clock? That was some of the things that I think was, difficult for us during the whole COVID thing. We had to at home. It's like we're at home. Why do my son gets up at 5 a.m. Can he get going on this, or you know what I mean? So how does that work with this?
That's a good question. And the flexibility that's provided during the day, a student could get up at 6 a.m. if that's what they chose and start working on it. That flexibility is provided to them. They are asynchronous modules with the teacher then providing the check-ins, the tutoring, the intervention that may need to happen, but they could flex their hours. That's what makes the flexibility piece of it, that I can start earlier, or if I'm a student that works later in the day, I may work later in the day and do my athletics or whatever in the morning. So that's where the flexibility comes in with that.
Okay.
What,
how do you see, I think you answered that, so if for some, well, I can't see the 6th to 8th graders, however, but if they want to do a module at 9 PM, 2 o'clock, 2 AM, that's the flexibility you're talking about?
It's the flex, I would still recommend sometime with, working through the instructional day, but they could still work like most of our students do when they're doing homework at night. They can do their modules then too. It just depends on setting up your structure and where best you will take care of your coursework, but they're still going to have to meet deadlines by the end of the week. You're still going to have to take quizzes and assessments. There's still going to be those pieces in there. And we're going to, and we're looking at how often we'll release it, but we'll release their workload in chunks so that they have a time frame. I need to get done with this in a week or this in 2 weeks. So they have that ability to be flexible and get it done.
What type of student would be, I guess I'm just, what type of student would this be catered to? You said homeschooling, but what other student would be, who are we trying to reach on this?
Jennifer, I was sorry to interrupt you on that, but I spoke to a parent that has a kid of this age group, right? This is the first time I'm really hearing all the details about it, but they travel for rodeo. And so this would be fitting for that type of student that's involved in something like that type of activity. Seems like it's set up like a college course, what it sounds like.
And it is the hybrid model, and even the online is more of what we see in colleges right now, where you have the in-person, you have the online, so it is set up similar to that, and it's looking for a student that can go through those modules and learn independently with the support of a teacher. And then it's addressing the flexibility needs that some of our families are requesting right now.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And so we're offering the full and the hybrid model right away.
We are offering the full and the hybrid. The hybrid will be focused on only the UIL, the athletics, and the fine arts will be the ones that they would attend in person.
And the ones that they would go to there are still dependent on where they live? Whether they're in, whether they're in Cedar Creek or Bastrop or.
Yes, sir.
And this model being used has been around for a couple years?
We have some school districts that have been doing this for about 5 or 6 years. Some are newer in it, such as us and Waco and a few others, so yes.
I've got one more. Now, I'm assuming then that the student would have to have some type of computer technical equipment at home. Is that something that the school district would provide, or at least check to make sure that their equipment can support the virtual learning?
It's a good question. What we're going to do is check out devices from us so that it is fully ready with all the things that a student would need for virtual learning. And then one of the questions it does ask parents is about reliable internet.
And you're talking any course that is typically offered at the core courses, or just any course?
Think of a typical day in the life of a 6th grader, and the courses that they would take would be the ones that would be offered online. Okay. I should say virtually, that asynchronous course.
Thank you.
One more, Jennifer.
It's okay.
So I suspect this is true, but I just want to make sure, because we just heard from Ms. Pinkston, and she was such a great support for these kids who just earned the biliteracy seal. So are programs of that nature considered in the virtual school as well, in terms of the proficiency and all of the things AP related, all the markers she described for?
And we're, as we continue to expand out and start looking at, right now we're going to look at the base level of what's provided for all our 6th through 8th grade students. And as we branch out into high school and stuff, then there will be more of the advanced academic side of it that will be included in that. Yep.
Jennifer, I guess give us the example of how a teacher is going to teach this class.
Oh.
Because because the teacher still has to. Are they teaching regular classes and then doing this also, or are they fully dedicated just to this environment? I mean, how does that work?
They would be fully dedicated to the virtual environment because it would be a full-time teaching job. It just may look a little different. So your first couple of little bit, maybe checking in to check progress and attendance from the day before. Could be. The next 30 minutes could be that you have a group of students in math that needs some additional assistance on the module they just covered because they may have been struggling with it. There may be a check-in with a class, your 7th graders on math to make sure everybody understands what's upcoming for the week. It could look like a variety of things. Theirs is more aimed at making sure our kids are making progress, providing those intentional interventions for them and support than necessarily doing all of the direct teach like we might have seen during COVID.
And is the teachers, are they, I guess, recording and their intervention or for the whole class to see, or how would that work?
That's a good question. That's getting into some of the fine details. We're
Okay.
still
All right.
we're still
All right.
adding
Yeah,
in,
that's
and depending on how many students we get in there, will also determine some of the logistical pieces. Really, the sky's the limit on what we want to do and how we want to make this look, because it does open up the flexibility for us to look at how we intervene with students, how we pull groups where the tutoring is, what the curriculum and all the pieces look like. So there's still lots as we go through this to make some determinations on based on the number of students we have. But we're excited about the opportunity to be able to do it.
And are we able to use the current truancy guidelines we have now for being present in school with this online?
They will follow all of our student code of conduct, whether they're in person or online.
Mr. Dillon, just want to clarify, so you're not going to have a class of 6th graders in math all at the same time. You may have so there's not going to be a teacher looking at a screen full of 6th graders delivering math. So I think the check-in support, and kind of envision that to be pretty regularly, potentially even daily. And it could be just a quick check-in based upon what the teacher is seeing as the data. Family communication will also be a part of how they spend their day, because this is going to be really important. As Jennifer said, we're on a mission to improve the district's academic rating, and so we don't want to set ourselves up for kids to sign up for the Virtual Learning Academy, and they're not meant for virtual at all. They can't handle the independence that comes with a virtual environment, and so we want to be very careful who we select to come into that, because they will be tied to that school's accountability rating.
Can I make a prediction? You said April 24th? I think you're going to have more than 200 applications on the first day, would be my guess. So why?
Mike's excited.
Yeah. So I guess why limit it to 200? Are you just because of staff that we have to hire, or what's the limit? What's the reason for
We
that?
looked at potentially numbers that we thought we could sustain in year one, how many we may get more than that, and we may need to go back to the table and reevaluate. But we've got 200 seats right now that we are ready to fill.
Gotcha.
All right, any other questions, Ms. Eberly? Thank you for being here. Congratulations for having the topic of the night. Sorry, demographer, and sorry, Noe on tax
Sorry, Vonda. Sorry,
delinquency.
everybody.
Yay! All right, great. 10 more questions, yeah. All right, great job. Moving along to our superintendent's report, Dr. Lee.
Well, I know, I don't really want to follow Ms. Eberly. I do want to highlight just a few things, though, that have happened since our March board meeting, which was before spring break. Like, it just feels like it was an eternity ago. We did open our Facility Support and Police Administration Center. We provided tours to our trustees and some staff. We are already gaining so much use out of the second floor training facility with our teachers, staff, and law enforcement partners. We look forward to doing an official ribbon cutting on that building here in the near future. I have completed visits with the heads of schools for Calvary Episcopal, Good Shepherd Lutheran, Compass Rose, and Founders Classical. My intent was really to just build a bridge with the school leaders in our community. I so appreciate how much those directors just welcomed me in some cases got tours of their facilities. We talked about the challenges that we each face, but it was really good to just establish that relationship with them. In a similar way, I invited the directors of all the childcare facilities in our community to meet me at the district office for relationship building, and I wanted to learn from them how the district could best support them. We have 3 child development centers of our own, but there are other, private businesses that I wanted to reach out to. I heard that increased communication between the district and those childcare facilities would be helpful, especially as it relates to special education and how they could communicate information to their families. And then the second thing was they wanted to continue to be invited to training opportunities. We have a great team in the Community Relations Department that is over our child development centers, and they provide training for all of our staff. And so we have in the past invited those child care centers to come and send their staff. It's a great way to get training at little to no cost, so they wanted to continue being invited to that. Since our last board meeting, I've held 2 separate superintendent-teacher roundtables. These are just small groups of teachers I've invited into my office just to learn and listen about their jobs as teachers and what they're experiencing in our schools. It's been great to have that feedback. We want to use that feedback to determine how can we improve the teaching environment. But mostly, it was just a really relaxed, fun way to get to know some teachers and to let them get to know me a little bit better. And they expressed how much they appreciated that. So we have 2 more to go this spring. We are, of course, smack dab in the middle of testing. Jack was saying that he took a test just today. I'm so proud of what I'm hearing from our principals. They are reporting how hard their students are working and how much it means to them to do a good job.
Is that true, Jack?
Yes, absolutely. We have continued STAR testing the rest of this week and next week, and we move into AP testing the first couple of weeks of May for our high school kiddos. I want to give a special shout out to our teachers, especially those who teach a STAR tested subject. So in some respects, they feel like parents. They've done all the work, they've prepared them, and you just hope that on the day that they go to take this test that they will shine like they can. It's nervous energy, but like sending your kid out into the world. But teachers, please hear me. You have done an outstanding job, and I am so proud of you. The school year isn't over, so just please keep your expectations high. Keep those kiddos in line, and keep each other in line too. And finally, I just want to tell you about a meeting that I held today. Evan was there with me and Noli. It was the first of its kind with grandparents who are in the position of raising their grandchildren. We have a unique subset here in Bastrop ISD. And so I invited them in to really to listen and to learn and to build that relationship. They are in the position for several reasons. It could be a death, it could be addiction, incarceration, economic hardship, abandonment. And what we heard in that room this morning was every single one of those issues that I just talked to you about. And they were so vulnerable in telling their stories about the grandchildren that they've raised after having raised their own kids, and the challenge of doing that as an older, more tired adult. And the financial hardship, the isolation and the loneliness because the vast majority of their friends are not raising their grandchildren. So it was just great to hear. They seem to really appreciate the bridge that was created with them, and they want to do this again and extend it to some other grandparents. And they also want access to resources, just information. They didn't ask for help from the district other than, hey, can you share with us what's going on in the community so we know? So that was great. So I wanted to make sure and share that with you. So happy to answer any questions from the board if you have any about any of that.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Appreciate it. Moving along to other reports. At this time, we're going to, we'll be moving the demographics report up on our agenda. We also have Hudson Huff with us today, who is presenting in place of Rocky Gardner. And so, Mr. Huff, thank you for being here.
Good
Got some
evening.
exciting news for us?
Well, I do want to clarify, there was a reference to stealing the thunder from a demographic report, and I've never brought the thunder in any demographic report. So, great to be with you this evening, and glad to be able to go over this information. Hopefully, we have a little bit of information that'll be helpful as we kind of talk through it today. Really exciting presentation right before, too. So,
Hudson, just one second. Are the screens up here off?
Well, that looks good. We appreciate it. Give him just a minute here, see what we can get up.
You do have in here.
Everybody, I don't think. I don't think they'll have a booklet.
Oh,
There we go.
Okay. Oh.
There it went.
Almost.
All right, we're good.
All right.
Thank you for your patience.
Members of the board, Dr. Lee, thank you for the opportunity again to be able to be with you tonight. So we'll touch on a number of different details of the demographic presentation. We'll talk about a few of those details that we haven't brought to presentations before. We'll talk just briefly about the overall economic picture. Again, we're seeing a little bit of a softness in the overall economy, a slight uptick in unemployment. And overall, though, things are still fairly strong. Again, about 35,400 jobs created in the last year. We are seeing some adjustments in various different markets. So you'll see related to artificial intelligence and some of those things that are out there. There's been an impact related to informational services as well as manufacturing when you think about logistics. So we are seeing an impact related to some of those sectors. But overall, we still continue to see some strength in the overall economy. Just briefly, we'll touch on kind of the overall population. So again, in our winter report, we'll highlight kind of the growth that we've seen in the state of Texas, really a growth of over 2 million residents in the state. Bastrop's county specific, you can see that growth from about 97,000 that's grown to almost 119,000 by the time we got to this past year. And then you can see specifically within the district the amount of growth that's taken place. And you've seen that specifically in what we've seen at the campuses over the last few years. Again, we'll just kind of reference those population breakdowns. So again, we'll just reference the 23.6 that are your millennials, that are your current families within the district. And then we'll also analyze that population of that 23.4. That's slightly younger, that Gen Z, but that's going to be your population that's going to be your future families that are going to be coming into schools over the next several years. And then we do have some things there that whenever we track kind of the wealth index and the housing affordability, those are all tracked in relation to scores of 100, 100 being the national average related to that. So again, housing affordability takes into consideration that household median income of about $81,000. And again, just referencing the fact of the amount of mobility, we'll talk about mobility in the overall report, but showing about 43.8% of the overall population is driving at least 5+ hours a week. So a good percentage of traffic that's out there on the roads over time. Now we'll talk in more detail about some of the information specific about students that are in the district, but specifically enrolled in Bastrop ISD. We can see about 13% of the overall population is within the Bastrop city limits. About a little over 1,200 students, about 9% of the overall population is in that Cedar Creek city limits area, and then you've got about 1,434 students, about 11% that are your Camp Swift city limits. And then we show about 217 of your students, about 2% of your overall enrollment that are residing outside of the district. So talking about mobility, that's one of the things we're tracking, and why we're starting to evaluate that is evaluating kind of a baseline of several changes that we could see take place with vouchers and things that are going to be happening next year. So this helps create a kind of a baseline year related to some of the data that we're putting together. But we want to look at kind of what happened and why we are looking at student mobility. So we know that there was an impact related to the pandemic and how significant that was. The advancement of technology, all the uses of technology is a big factor. We know geopolitical plays into this related to some of the messaging and specifically the frequency of messaging related to some of those factors. So those all kind of factored into families evaluating the choices they're making related to education. We want to kind of continue to point to the fact that we do continue to be a state that continues to grow in population across, when you look at that in relation to what's happening across the country. So even though we do see that things are starting to slow a little bit based off of some of the reports that we've got, we had about 391,000 additional residents this year, at least by the census estimates that are out there. So what we started to do is evaluate what that looks like when you take into consideration the population increases that we've had in the state over the last several years, and then evaluate what we've seen with the TEA enrollment in that same time frame. So when you look at the growth that we've seen year over year, really from 2021, 22, 23, 24, close to about 500,000 additional residents that have gone, that have moved into the area, but then we correlate that to enrollment numbers. And we know COVID definitely impacted that related to some of those enrollment years. Again, 21, 22 had a 13% change, and that's 13% of that overall 423,000 number that's there. But you can see by the 23-24 year that number really dropped to only about 2% of that overall population increase, and then we saw a decline of over 76,000 in the TEA enrollment this specific school year. So again, kind of referencing that breakdown. So we started to evaluate it, again, as we do when we talk about the population and changes that are out there. We want to look at the TEA data based off of each individual region and see what regions changed, what regions had increases related to that population increase, and where we saw some losses. And so you can see kind of Region 6, Region 7, Region 10, 13, 14, 18, and 20 all had increases. But then all of the other regions across the state actually had enrollment losses. And so we track that. This just shows graphically which regions specifically had those drops and which regions showed the increase. When you look at the regional map there up in the upper right-hand corner, again, overall, and then we'll kind of reference kind of halfway through, after we got through the pandemic, what was the change that we saw just 3 years out. So you can see Region 4, the Houston region, about 30,000, almost 31,000 less students than it was in the 22-23 year. And so again, talking about virtual, this next slide is to really kind of hopefully emphasize the change that we've seen. So of all those districts that we referenced that had increases, Region 6 has Huntsville ISD, which has an online program that has had significant enrollment in that specific school district. There's a reference to that Hallsville ISD that they've had in that time frame. They had increases of over 15,000 students enrolled in that district, which created that significant change in Region 7. Roscoe Collegiate ISD, again, a fairly significant increase over the last several years, pushing that Region 14 Abilene region up into a positive enrollment level. And then again, Fort Stockton in that Region 18 Midland zone is also a big factor. So virtual is a big factor in some of the changes we've seen in the overall enrollment picture in the state of Texas. Again, because of the growth, the jobs in Region 10 and 13, that's part of why we saw some of the increases in those specific regions. Virtual, again, just highlighting that, identifying kind of what those overall virtual numbers throughout the entire state look like. As you look at the pre-pandemic, what we would reference is the 19-20 year at that 16,263 enrollment total. And you can see how significant that increase has been over the last several years. Last year it was 57,000, and this year has grown to over 72,000 students that were enrolled in these specific programs. We also want to evaluate charters to see the growth that's happened in each of those individual zones. So you can see specifically in Region 13, the growth of charters, approximately a growth of about 8,424 students total. And then you'll see kind of in that bottom right, when you think about which areas, which regions have the largest percentage of charters, that's 22.4% are in that Houston Region 4 area, followed by the Region 10 Richardson region. And again, the Austin Region 13 area is at about 5.7% of all of the charters that are in the state. So then we get specifically into information that we get from TEA related to the district information. So you'll see an increase in the transfers out. So what I would reference is when we talk about the transfer out numbers, these are going to be those that reside in the district but may not be enrolled in the district, but they're attending a neighboring district or a different school system. So transferring in is going to be those that are transferring out from outside of the boundaries into the district. So you can see where your transfer in numbers have been kind of anywhere from about 75 to 125. And you can see what it was in pre-pandemic in that 19-20 time frame and how that has grown up to about a little over 1,600 students that are enrolled in various different areas. And so we'll provide a little bit more information into that specifically. When you look at your enrollment in, primarily where your students are coming from are going to be a small number from Lockhart, ISD, Elgin, and Smithville. And then you've got a few other neighboring districts that have about 44 students in other areas of the region that have been coming into the district. When we look at students transferring out, we capture that number into three specific categories. Those that are neighboring districts, a lot of times tie into children that are following their parents who may be teachers in other school districts. That's a part of that number for us. But again, you can see how that number has actually decreased from what it was in the 2019-20 time frame to close to 40% of your overall transfer out number to now that's down to about 17.5%. Whereas you can see the charter growth has grown from about 57% to about 72%. But again, kind of highlighting what virtual has been, a very small number of virtual students that were transferring out to some of these districts in 19-20, and that has grown to about 164 of those that reside in the district that are attending one of those virtual schools. So again, you see over there on the right side where those neighboring districts are. So again, a little over 100 students at Smithville. Austin has about 74 students. Again, kind of through that, Compass Rose referencing that 382, and Founders at that 248. And then kind of highlighting the numbers that are there related to virtual school programs. There's a reference to Hallsville ISD, 81 students that are participating in their programs currently within the district boundaries, Roscoe Collegiate at 47 and Fort Stockton at 21 students total. So again, that kind of shows you just an overall breakdown of what we know based off of the TEA data that's reported to us in the spring. We also know that related to locally, you've got a few private schools that have been referenced tonight, and their overall enrollment is small in relation to the overall district enrollment. So approximately about 1 to 1.5% of the students that reside within the boundaries are attending your private schools in the area, and a little bit larger percentage there with what you have at Compass Rose and at Founders at that 382 students and 248 students that are, as reported by TEA. We do track, as we have the last several years, we've referenced leavers, so we identify what your student ID numbers are from one year to the next to be able to evaluate what's happening related to the mobility of students in the district. And so you can see kind of the difference that's happened related to the number of new students that came in from one year and the students that we have identified as leavers. We don't take into consideration kindergarten students and pre-K as newcomers, and we don't plug in the seniors as leavers. But we track down that 1,670 with some of the technology analysis that we're able to do now. And so out of that 1,670 leavers that are identified, we've got these broken down into a couple of different categories. So of that, about 60% of those students that have unenrolled that are no longer here, important to know that they just moved physically outside of the boundaries. So when we reference leavers, sometimes that's got a negative feel to it. Part of it is it's just a decision that they moved out of the area. 36% of those within that number do show to be within the district boundaries right now. And so those do break down into a couple of different categories. So you'll see kind of there's a general flow in the graphic that we have there. You'll see in both scenarios, whether they remained in district or moved outside of the district, we've got about 70% that still were choosing public ed. It just may be a different public education system than Bastrop. As a part of that, again, a large percentage of that is just going to be moving out. But then one to track is the 431 students that moved to a charter school. And then again, a very small percentage, about 2% that were private, and then 7 that were identified as potentially homeschooling, and then a few numbers that are just tied to out of state. And then when we look at the numbers specific to what were the top campuses where we had leavers, primarily focused in the Cedar Creek High, Middle, Bastrop High, and Lost Pines Elementary were a couple of the top campuses that were referenced related to that leaver list. So again, just a general breakdown of what that population and some of the programs that those students were a part of. So that's the mobility piece, a lot of the data that we'll be tracking, and our goal is with that part of it is to track, have a baseline year with this year, and then start to track those specific percentages and those numbers as we go into the next several years to see what kind of changes take place in the next few years. So with that, we also just tie into a little bit of what we normally go over, which is just the overall housing picture. You'll see kind of in the overall Austin region, similar to what we're seeing across the country, a softness in the overall housing market. Some of our numbers are down from where they were the last several quarters. We are seeing a slowing in the number of closes just because of where the market is, but we also see that the builders are also being sensitive to their inventory and also the number of starts that they have based off of those closings. So tracking that right now. Overall, the number of home sales in the district are a little over 1,000 for the total year of 25. So that's, again, a little softer than what we've been from 23 to 24, and significantly down from where we were in the peak in that 2022 timeframe. Again, when we just track overall pricing, we do see that based off of what we're seeing in the overall market, we're seeing a little bit of a softness in the price points. The existing price points are down a little bit from where they've been the last 2 years, as well as existing home sales pricing is a little bit less than what it has been the last few years. Overall activity, when we track it by our elementary zone, you'll see kind of the significant amount of in Immel zone at 43 homes under construction, followed by Colony Oaks, and then a few other zones are there with 9 each homes under construction, so a total of about 120 homes under construction, referencing a total of about 278 homes that are in inventory across the district currently right now. Overall, just a quick overview of the amount of activity that's taking place, about 31 active subdivisions across the district. Again, 120 homes under construction with 5,100 vacant developed lots. Quite a few of those futures that we'll highlight just a few of those as we get into the next few slides. Showing a total of about 22,300 total single-family futures that are out there, and there is still quite a bit of activity out there in about 9 different subdivisions, referencing about 950 lots that are have roads and utilities going in. Sayers Ranch in the MENA zone right now has about 850 total futures that are a part of that. They did get the development agreement for that was reviewed a little over a year ago. No specific activity taking place at this time, but they did get their preliminary plat approved this spring in February. So again, wanting to kind of monitor the status of that activity in that area. Cedar Creek has De La Oasa at 100 total futures that are there. Again, groundwork is taking place on those lots, so that has been active. Stoic Falcon, again, the Cedar Creek zone has about 116 future lots, and we also see groundwork taking place in that region currently right now, and anticipating the lot delivery later this spring, so as we get into the summer. Just briefly, multifamily, we just touch on a little bit on the yield here, where we'll do just a quick breakdown to kind of show that we've got about 576 total students and about a little over 3,073 units, so a yield of that 0.186. And then we do kind of break that down as we just do an analysis of the age of those units to kind of have an idea of some of the older units, if those are more affordable. That's kind of what we've traditionally seen. Our breakdown of the research that we had here was a little bit different, but again, part of that really ties to bedroom mix. Sometimes we'll reference that, as to how many 2 and 3 bedrooms may be built within each one of those developments. Also has a hand in the yields that are out there in each of those areas. Overall, when we talk about the construction of the multifamily, you've got about 420 multifamily units that are under construction across the district, with about 82 duplex rental units that are going in. And then we know we've got a little over 2,000 total futures that are out there throughout the district that are in some kind of planning stage. And talking about kind of a planning stage where there's going to be some activity here before too long is Adelton's zone has Pecan Park. That has 400 total future apartment units that are a part of that. And again, we're anticipating some activity that's going to be taking place. Dirt work and things like that should be happening this next year. As we just talked through, again, we'll just go over real quickly kind of where we're at with the overall enrollment picture as we look back to kind of know where our large grade groups are, that being at the secondary campus at our high schools currently right now. And then as we kind of evaluate where we're at with the enrollment picture, I want to highlight the fact that our projections reference a small percentage that should be kind of in line with where we're at currently. With the enrollment that we had this year, with about 87 additional students at this 0.65, so less than 1% of growth. And again, anticipating that hopefully with market changes that will take place, with affordability being taken into consideration, that we could see things tick back up as we get into the next few years. Ultimately, long-term, still anticipate a lot of activity and growth in the district, so we could potentially see that a little over 17,000 student enrollment as we get 10 years out. And then this just breaks that information down, as we've shared with you before, as we kind of look at each of the individual elementary school campuses, Camino Real, Red Rock are all kind of just in that exceeding capacity currently right now. And then we have Lost Pines and Cedar Creek that are just near capacity. And then we've got our middle school campuses, Cedar Creek Middle School, where you can see the exceeding capacity this as we have this year and will continue over the next few years. And then the last graphic we show before we get into the summary just references kind of what we reference as a general scale. Our projections are referenced in the middle in the hard green there that shows where our current enrollment is and really what our projections are. But we do say, related to some of the changes that we anticipate this next year with vouchers and those kind of things, that we do reference the low projections there. And so for the next few years, being cautiously conservative, reference that lower end of potential projections, but then also having an awareness of what those high projections could be as you get 5, 6, 7 years out, to make sure that we've got classrooms for students in the area. So that's why we've got that scale there. But again, our primary review of where we think projections are going to be in that mid-range area. And then just a general summary that'll kind of identify all the different things that we've talked about. And with that, I'll just be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, any questions for Mr. Huff?
I do, and I think it also goes with Jennifer. Back, you did a slide on the virtual, the number of students. 72,000 students are doing virtual online? Was
Yes.
that, did I?
In
my
the state of
understanding-
Texas.
in-
Yes.
Well, in the state.
Across the state. Yes.
And we're only doing 200. I'm going to go with Dr. Mix here. We're going to max it out. But that is really remarkable numbers when it comes to the virtual online. I did not realize it was that popular.
So Carol, not all of them are good.
Well, no, I mean.
That's the reason that
Yeah.
we're going so slow.
Okay.
There's a lot of data to support at this point that many districts, and I think you saw Fort Stockton was on one of those slides, are failing
Okay.
miserably in the virtual school space. So that's why. It's just treading lightly and careful.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for
Thank you
coming
all.
out this evening. All right, moving along to our other business service reports. We have a delinquent tax report. We have our tax attorney, Noe Reyes, here with McClary, Veselka, Bragg, and Alan. Noe, welcome. I hope that your report is not as soft as our growth on collections. So we got some good news?
I think we got some great news.
All right.
So absolutely. Got some great news to bring you. I'll keep it brief, but I will go over 3 or 4 categories of collections that I think indicate the health of the overall collections program. The report has ample information. I'm just going to zero in on a few things. And as I go along, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Let's start with page 3 on your reports, and I have that slide up on the screen. This is total revenue from tax collections. So this compares your total tax revenues as a percentage of your tax year tax levy, okay? So, for example, tax year 2024 up on the screen, fiscal year ending 6/30/2025, the adjusted tax levy was $90,702,137. Between current and delinquent tax collections, we collected $89,967,000. If you add penalties and interest, that is $1.574 million for a total of $91,542. Compare that $91,542 to your $90,702,000 tax levy. Your percentage collected as total revenues indicate are 100.93%. As you can see, going back to 2021 and before, Bastrop ISD normally collects 99% or above. We shoot to definitely be above 98% every year. TEA requires 95%. We're well above that. Anytime we go over 100% is a great thing. And for fiscal year ending 2024, we did that, as well as the remaining years. Are there any questions about what this means? If not,
Wait a minute, I've got
yes.
something. Just looking at the numbers, if you can explain, there was from 2022, 2023, there was a drop of 10 million, and then it kind of shot back up. I don't know what was it, what happened during those years, the 3 years?
I think that was the year after COVID, 2022, and I think values dropped significantly because of that. And then, of course, with all the construction, it went right back up.
Back up. Okay.
So,
Thank you.
any other questions? We're looking at cumulative tax collections, and again, this is as of March 31st, 2026. This is each individual year tax levy collected over time. Okay, so this is purely 2024 taxes, 2023, 2022, and 2021. Again, looking at the adjusted tax levy for 2024, which bills went out at the end of tax year 2024, correct. So we have that adjusted tax levy for $90,702,000. We're reporting on 2024 simply because 2025 is still in collections. So this is after a full year of collections for tax year 2024. The adjusted tax levy, $90.702 million. What has been collected, as you can see, in the cumulative collection of tax levy has been $88,756,000 for a percentage of 97.85%. As you can see over time, taxpayers enter payment plans, we do collection judgments, and over time, we achieve pretty much 100% on each individual tax year levy. So what you want to see is an upward trend each year, and we have that. 99.7 in 3 years is pretty high.
And no,
Very high,
I
yeah.
just so the public understands this
Yes.
too, though, right? I mean, our tax bill comes out usually in the end of November or so.
Yes.
No penalty if it's paid by the end of January.
Correct.
And it's not until July that it might be turned over for collections. for
July
delinquent
1st
collections, right?
to our law firm
Okay,
for collections,
Right.
yes.
Just want to make sure we understand that too.
Yes, correct. Any questions, any other questions about this?
Yeah, just one, you
Yes.
go back to 2021.
Yes.
Obviously, the older it is, the harder it is to retrieve. So at what point, is that pretty much as far back as y'all are retrieving right now is 2021 tax?
We collect back a number of years. It could be for a number of reasons. It can be because of tax deferrals. It can be.
Some
there's
kind of
just a number-
litigation or?
Yes, absolutely. So we go back sometimes as far as 20 years.
You don't give up?
For various reasons.
Either that or he'll sell it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's move on to this is purely collection of delinquent taxes. Mr. Dillon, you mentioned July 1st. For 2024, we saw that the tax levy was $90 million. 3.905 went delinquent on July 1st, okay? That's when it was turned over to us for collections. And 9 months of activity as of 3/31/26. As you can see here, 9 months of activity, we've collected 50% of it, 1.959 million, and we're working on this 1.946 million. We shoot to have at least 50 to 60% of that original delinquency collected within the first 12 months. So I think we're ahead of schedule here. Eventually, we get close to 95, 98% within 3 or 4 years, which again is very good based on the number of months of collections. So as you can see for the other tax years, Mr. Mix, you mentioned 2021, 2.378 went delinquent that year. Only 162,648 remain delinquent for 2021. Now, keep in mind, 2021, we did not begin to collect until almost a year later, July 1st of 2022. So, any other questions about this? There's other information. I'm just going to do one more of these charts, and this is on your page 9. This is everything that's outstanding for the last, up to, like I said earlier, 20 years. Okay, $4.582 million. Now, that's a big number to all of us, right? This is what hasn't been collected out of the last 20 or so years of tax levies. Okay, so that number is a very, very high number, hundreds of millions of dollars. Might even be close to $1 billion. And so this is what remains uncollected. Now, here's what we're doing about it. Okay, as you can see, of that $4.582 million, $1 million, or 22%, is in a statutory payment plan. Taxpayers have up to 3 years to pay taxes by statute on their property. So a lot of that is in here, $1 million, just 22%. As you can see, the teal portion of the chart, that's tax deferrals, $930,000. Again, almost $1 million is in its tax deferral, 20% of what is outstanding. That means that for the moment, for the time being, any account under a deferral, we cannot collect. It's statutory forbidden for us to engage in any collection activity. And this is usually for individuals that are 65 or older or have certain disabilities. Now, the largest part of it, of the 4.5 million, almost 1.6 million is in a delinquent tax suit, or we have taken a judicial judgment in anticipation of potential foreclosure of the property. We've got 1.6 in a lawsuit already, so that's over a third of it already is in a lawsuit. And there's a few there that are in recent collections, 2024, 2023, that's in progress. All in all, it's all accounted for, and we're working every single bit of it as much as possible. So, are there any questions about this? The chart at the bottom of your page, it's not up on the screen, but it has, it's broken down by year, what's delinquent by year. So, Mr. Mix, you asked, as you can see on your page, 2014 and prior, there's about $466,000 due. That's probably going to be those tax deferrals that we cannot collect at this time. So, any other questions?
When would you collect those?
Those become collectible at the time that property ceases to be the individual's principal place of residence. Could be a death, could be a sale of the property. So as soon as that happens, we begin collections. So.
Would that include selling the property? Like if they sold the property?
Yes.
We would take, okay.
If they sell that property, the taxes become due.
So it's like a lien?
Yes.
Mr. White, did you have a question?
I was just waiting to add, Noe, correct me if I'm wrong, on the first few slides that have the levy dropping, those are years that you guys are familiar with the tax compression we've gone through, over the years. And then more recently, probably in 2023, that was the increase in the homestead. So I think you'll see that play out in 25 as well. So as our INS has been pretty steady since we passed the bond, but the M&O is either compressing or they've gone with the increase of the homestead. I think that would affect the levy as well.
I agree with that.
That's a good point, yeah.
That was a good portion as well, yes. Good catch there, Mike. Yep.
Any other questions, Mr. Reyes? No, thank you very much. We really do appreciate it.
Appreciate you all.
Yes, sir. All right, moving along to our budget update number 3. Mike White, we'll let you have the podium there, and our Chief Financial Officer.
Thanks, sir. Let's see. All right. So coming back to you this month, you'll note that this is the third budget update we've had, starting in February and March.
These are some of the key factors we've talked about. You'll continue to hear all the way through, and probably into future years as well. We got a peek at what enrollment projections look like, and currently how we're being affected by kind of a irregular lull in our growth, based on historical trends, and the fact that that results in that affects our funding. Right, we're still in a student-based, enrollment-based funding model. So we've had a little bit of a slowdown in our increase in funding that we've been seeing. We have the voucher impact coming. We've seen a lot of talk of that, and have some details related to how that might impact us moving forward. And then an update on the hold harmless funding. That's something I've mentioned as a concern in previous months. We do have somewhat of a resolution on that and a final update for the board. This is an excerpt from our monthly financials. You'll see that last month we hit that mark where current year enrollment, was similar to last year enrollment, so no growth there. I'm encouraged to say that it's somewhat plateaued, right? Almost the same this month as last month. So that's an encouraging sign about students we might have been losing after the Christmas break. So look forward to seeing an upward trend there in future months and years. So an update on the voucher. I won't read everything here, but I did want to highlight that as data is released to districts statewide, we've been tracking that number, that 543 number. That is the number of Bastrop ISD applications. Unfortunately, I don't have a breakdown. I don't know how many of those are homeschoolers or where they're at, or those kinds of details. I would share them with you if I had them. But the other numbers have changed a little bit, so I felt like I would come back and give you a little bit of update. We're still tracking less than 1% of public school families applying for this program. So that's important to note. 77% come from existing private school students, and more than 25% come from families making more than 5 times the federal poverty level. Now, in February, we talked about the restrictions, right? The tiers of priority, and I won't go back over it, but income level playing a big part of that. So I think we're going to get to the point where, most of the applications won't be at the high end. They won't be able to get to those tiers based on the number of students that applied and the amount of funds available. So that is, somewhat of a silver lining there. So we've talked the last 2 months about a concern about our hold harmless funding. So we were one of about 600 districts, I think, that were receiving this funding, and a number of us had an update where it looked like we were going to lose our hold harmless funding. That being this past session when they increased the homestead for those 65 or over. In statute they were to hold us harmless, right? They were to backfill that funding, and for us we projected it to be about $2.4 million. So when that funding looked like it might be disappearing in January, we were very concerned, as were hundreds of other districts. So the update we have, TEA came out with an update in mid-March that did a number of things, that looked at the methodology used for that calculation. And for a great many districts, it was at least a partial solution. In our case, it looks like we lost about $700,000 in funding, which, I guess that's about 70% or so, is the glass is half full, I guess. For me, I was seriously concerned about not receiving anything at all. So while it's not didn't hold us harmless with the change, it is a much better outcome. And there are some local districts that currently still are at zero. So something they're going to have to work through, obviously. So overall, a positive update, I think, and one that TEA was able to help us with in dealing with the comptroller. Okay. I've been providing updates on area school districts and what the landscape looks like. These are mostly bigger districts, in the urban corridor of the Austin area. But these are 4 headlines I pulled from this week. The biggest one has been the story down at Hayes, some challenges they have to rebuild their fund balance and get back on firm footing. And of course, Round Rock and Pflugerville, and I think Georgetown as well, all struggling with student numbers and budget concerns. And then, of course, you've seen the headlines about Austin ISD closing a number of campuses and what they face. I want to say offhand it was $170 million. It was a significant number, nevertheless, of looking to cut their deficit and get on solid ground again. So it is tough out there in the streets, as they say. So let's look at revenues for just a second. We talked about the virtual education program starting, and that's obviously a to be determined outcome. If we did get 200 students and we didn't already have them, if we weren't shifting from our classroom to online and they were from the outside, that could be roughly $2 million. Special education funding has been one of the things that was a priority in the last session. A significant investment made in terms of actual additional funding for schools that wasn't part of the pass-through to staff and their much-needed pay increases. So the challenge here is that we can only estimate what this number will be. We'll find out how much money there was to go around to each district after the year is over. So that's so September of 27, I will know exactly what this number is. So we're taking a conservative approach here, 4%, which, rough math, you would think it would be at least that, but I'm hoping for more there because obviously we outspend our funding on special education significantly. And then, of course, continued focus on attendance improvement. We've done a great job with that. We've gained some ground there and want to make sure to hold that because, again, funded on every kid that is in attendance. So let's talk about expenditures. This is where the real work happened. As our student numbers and our growth didn't hit this year's measure, projected number, we obviously had to start there and look at what some of our student-teacher ratios look like, particularly at the elementary level. And we found there was 8 FTEs that we could scale back based on that. So that's the $580,000 there. There was a number of departments that were not campuses, but non-campus departments that were asked to cut their budget 15%. Some of those same departments, had a cut not too long, 2 years ago as well. So it's been very lean, and that was a big ask, and they've been very supportive, and I think they understand the need for that. So working through that. Our expenditures, the priorities we have, you can see they're going to fall under 3 key categories, but the first, of course, is safety and security. Continue to expand our police officer staffing there with the addition of an officer. We have 2 campus monitors, one at each high school. And then we have some funding for special education. Right? We have 2 life skills teachers based on the growing student population we have there. We've been receiving an autism grant. We're a recipient of a unique grant there that's been funded federally, but with that grant phasing out, we're going to have to take those positions and fund what we can in-house, and we don't exactly have the exact positions and FTEs decided yet, but that's the $395,000 that we're going to have to foot. And then taking 2 half-time positions at our new middle schools, that being counselors and assistant band directors, and making sure they each have their own full-time FTE. So the reality of that, as we fully implement that move to 4 middle schools, necessitated that. So that's a positive investment there. A few other, what I'll call support positions. One in facilities, that being to help maintain our HVAC systems. 3 custodians for our increase in square footage. A couple of positions that are funded out of the child nutrition grant, that being a field supervisor and somebody to work on all their equipment needs. And then taking a current PEAMS vacancy and then for next year splitting it into 2 positions. Lastly, I say virtual education staffing needs in a general way there because we're still working through all the specifics there. So I think as we roll out this program in coming months for next year, we'll have a little bit more specifics either in the budget workshop or in May and June. So those are all important updates here. One position at CCMS being reduced based on student numbers, and congrats to that promoted assistant principal there at CCMS. Compensation. Continuing to, this would be year 2 of House Bill 2. You'll recall that a big part of that was the $2,500 and $5,000 for our teachers that hit that 3 years of experience or 5 years of experience and above. So continuing to do that as new teachers hit that 3 or 5 year mark. And then adjusting pay for life skills and behavior paras. That was a priority for us, and I know for the board as well, with those programs. And then currently modeling a 1% of midpoint pay increase for other staff. I do have one caveat here. We're still working through some of the nuances and a few steps on the lower end of the teacher scale, those 1, 2, 3, 4, as we give those raises, and we have other employees this past year that didn't receive them. Just trying to make sure that two teachers with the same level of experience don't have different pay. So that's a challenge a lot of districts are working through currently, and making sure we're equitable and accurate there. So should have that again in a budget workshop or in May. So a couple of scenarios that we wanted to present here. I know we're coming to you for the first time here with this, but and give the board a little bit of what that would look like. Right. So the first scenario is the current based budget, which is no impact of fund balance with a 1% pay raise factored in. Another scenario, and I'm going to have this on the next slide visually, so just bear with me here, would be a small deficit budget, and I know that's a bad word, but had a higher pay increase factored in that would require fund balance. And I wanted to include a couple important caveats. I want to be as transparent as I can here. One of the things that's got us where we're at with our base scenario, and I'll go ahead and show it. Oh, there we go. So in our base budget, the one on the left here, really for both of them, there's two things that are helping us. There is actually an audit. We can do a taxable audit of prior year values. So it's kind of a look back, if you will, and I won't get too complicated here, but in 2022, we're currently working with Noe's firm to do an audit of 2022, which we calculate will give us a one-time payment of $2.4 million. So that definitely helped us with our current year budget, right? But unfortunately, it's 2022.
So why wouldn't you do 23 too and get some more money?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, it's a card you have to be very strategic when you play. Essentially, let's say values are $1 billion, or, whatever.
Yeah.
That's where it starts, right? That's what it's assessed. But over time, because of those lawsuits and other adjustments, settlements and other agreements, typically it starts here and it trends down. We're held accountable by that number in the funding formula, right? The higher that is, locally, the less we get paid from the state. So if that number goes from $1 billion to $900 million, essentially that goes into the formula, and we get they settle us up 3 years later. So you always want to be mindful of what that number looks like now versus what it looked like then. So long story short, that's something we should receive this next fiscal year. But it's not an ongoing thing. It's a one-time audit. So that is in there. And I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but bear with me. The second item, we have a number of enterprise funds, right? They're I think it's exhibit H3, if I'm not mistaken, H4, something like that. And so an enterprise fund is basically any fund that kind of operates like a business, right? If the high school had a restaurant, or if we had if we sold T-shirts downtown, or we had some kind of enterprise like that, we've had a number of those, and we noticed that the last 5 years or so, the after-school program has increased over time to almost $3 million fund balance, right? And so that operates off to the side, outside of the general fund, but they haven't really been assigned any indirect costs, right? Any overhead. So essentially, it's kind of an artificial fund balance they've been able to build up, not necessarily because of their operation, but just because we provide the building and all other costs. So we were going to strategically use $1.9 million of that to transfer in to the general fund this year. So that's included. So what you might see, what you will see, if this is what we move forward with, when you see the actual budget and fund and function, all the ways you're used to adopting it, it will have revenues and expenditures, and that might be a $1.9 million deficit, but then you have the transfer in, and so the impact on fund balance is zero. So that is what we're calling a balanced budget for this year. There's no impact to fund balance in the general fund, and I know given how tough things are with school finance and with our growth currently, that like all districts are just trying to weather the storm and try to protect fund balance until our growth starts to organically begin again. So put a lot of work into this, what you're seeing here tonight. The alternate scenario is on the right. Obviously that's, ultimately the board, they hire a superintendent, they adopt a tax rate, they adopt a budget. This is really your budget. So I want you to, understand the options and the reality of that. We would caution against the use of that at this point because of future years. We're been saving for a rainy day for the purpose that we might have in the next year or two. So that's a lot of information at once. So I'll pause there and see if you guys have questions about what I've covered so far.
Mike, and this might even go to Dr. Lee's report too, having these meetings with teachers and things like that. But are we looking for the right word here? Are we still competitive in the market for what we pay for our teachers and our staff? To know that they were not going to go to the next district over. We're not going to lose them because of that. I mean, how are we?
I can only give you my perspective on that. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I would say that I'm talking to the CFO and the other folks at those districts next door. They're faring about our level or worse. We took a small informal survey of the districts in Austin area that we have contact with. It was either no raise or at all, and they know that. Of course, Hayes in districts in tougher situations. If we heard one that had 1%, others are waiting. They're just waiting to see as much, I mean, they haven't made a decision yet, but I've not heard anything rosier than that. So in terms of competitiveness, I think we would hold our ground. I don't hear that we're losing teachers to that, and it's not because of pay raises going on elsewhere. This is the story across Central Texas, really, across the state. So that's my take on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Mike, if you could, at our next workshop, bring a scenario of adding 2 law officers. That was our goal for every year, I thought, and if it's not, but what's the action plan? Chief can maybe give a report at the workshop for not needing that, just due to it's a state requirement at campuses, and I know how we're working the plan and what's going on, and I know we need to cut in certain areas, but there's also certain areas we need to continue to.
Sure.
Just bring a scenario, please.
Absolutely. Any other questions about the 2 one-time items? Those are going to be unusual. That's only going to pertain to next year's budget. Okay. Well, again, this is the first of many. Did you start to say something?
I'm just looking forward to next week at the budget workshop.
Well, take a good look. It'll look somewhat similar to this, but we're going to drill down a little more into process and into kind of the, some of the sausage making, if you will. And so that this meeting may not necessarily allow for. So this is kind of where we're at. We have budget presentation number 3. I did receive preliminary values in my email today, right as the meeting was starting. Haven't had a chance to look through them. I shouldn't even say I don't know what they look like, but that would be an important factor as well. Going to, of course, have an update in May if pertinent, but really preparing for that budget workshop next week, which will allow us to focus in on the budget a little bit more. And then in June, we really have the significant steps. We have all the requirements. We have the public hearing, the adoption, all those kind of things. So if you have questions, let me know. And I want to make sure it's the workshop and future meetings are valuable and give you the information you need. With that, I will open up for questions again, but I think
I don't know that I have a question, Mike, but I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit on, well, I'll just kind of preface that comment with, I was able to meet with a legislator last week in Texarkana for Leadership TASB, and the growing consensus is that vouchers are going to be funded again. And then this surplus that the state's going to experience, we may actually be positioned well to look at some kind of rainy day fund or legacy fund for public schools. So you heard it here first. So I would be thrilled if that happened. Fair's fair. And so for times like, just the rainy day, I guess. But the state rep we visited with continued to say that increasing basic allotment is really the advocacy we should be pursuing. I thought unfunded mandates were the way to go. He says, yes, for sure, keep track of all those, but certainly just increasing basic allotment makes your job much, much easier in the long run. So I guess I say all that to say, what are your thoughts on future increases to basic allotment? And then also in terms of where we are today with budget issues, some of this is a non-event if virtual school is successful and we do get outside enrollment. So that's terrific. We're gonna, I'm back with Dr. Mix. Let's open it up bigger. Let's go big. But I just kind of want to get your thoughts on like the environment, like geopolitical, like where the interest rates are just kind of where the Fed hasn't done much of anything. So, fund balance is there. And I mean, we're kind of in I guess we have less money than we did because we've spent a whole bunch down. So, I mean, what are your thoughts in terms of where we're, yeah. So in terms of where we're headed, just being fiscally responsible. I know we are, but
I have a
just
poor memory.
worry.
I'm starting to forget the first part of your question here.
Sorry, no,
It's
just
okay.
your thoughts.
I just want to, because the
overall-
first part I think I want to hone in on because I
Okay.
think it'd be the most insightful on my point of view. In terms of the basic allotment versus unfunded mandates, I mean, a dollar is a dollar, I will say. I think in terms of the state budget, maybe the unfunded mandates is probably more, smaller and one-off, right? Because if they made us whole on SPED and safety and security, I mean, we're talking millions and millions for us, right? So the thing that gives the basic allotment a big push is because everybody makes out, right? You have all the equity center districts, 600 plus property poor districts that all support that. You have the recapture districts that helps them with recapture. So it's universally beloved, but by districts for those reasons, but legislators don't like it because you increase the basic allotment in law, you're kind of committed to it. Right? You saw how much of the funding they actually put is like $50 or $60. There's minimal increase, and they gave all these, they earmarked some funds, right? So really either one, if we get significant funding in any way, I'd be happy. I think it's going to be, they've never followed a session like last time where we got significant funding with another one just like it. Typically it kind of yo-yos.
Ebbs and flows,
Yeah, so either one are valid arguments. In terms of the spending fund balance near the end, where you refer, if our fund balance increased quite a bit this past year, I don't know historically if it was higher at some point, but we're currently about 4.2 months of operating expenditures, which is with healthy, above the minimum recommended by TEA of 3 months. But again, if you start living off your pocket like that and going into debt, it's a recipe for disaster.
No, I get that.
So,
Okay, well, thank you.
of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. White. All right, moving along here, our communications report, as well as our curriculum and instruction report, and our human resource report, and our police safety and security report are all for information only, which moves us into our consent agenda. Would any board member like to pull any of the consent agenda items for discussion?
I think we should have a question for the students over here, because I see there's some baseball stuff on there, and we have a baseball player sitting over here from Cedar Creek High School.
What's your question, Trustee Mix?
3B4, the last one there.
What's your question?
Just a simple question is, I know Mason has been playing baseball over at Cedar Creek, and so, do you see the coaches basically working that field a lot and that sort of thing? What are your thoughts on a turf field versus the one you're playing on?
I think getting a turf field would be better for Cedar Creek High School's baseball team overall, because it would be easier to take care of, and that would take a load off the coaches, and it would allow them to focus more on the players rather than the field a lot. And it would also cut down the water bill if we had a turf field, because you don't need to water a turf field, and a lot of water goes into the field that we have now. There would also be a lot less injuries because the field we have now, the way the ball rolls and bounces, it's very unpredictable, and that leads to some injuries with the players. And it would look a lot better and more presentable, just like in general. I think we would win more baseball games because we'd be better prepared.
Is that a promise, or?
And in district play, what is roughly the percentage of fields when y'all leave out of town that are turfed? The majority of them, or?
No, sir. But we have had to play at Bastrop's field a few times, or cancel games due to rain.
Mm-hmm.
But if we had a turf field, we wouldn't have to do that because rain's not a big issue for turf. And yeah, that's all I have for that. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Jack, do you play baseball? Okay, well.
He used to.
He used to?
Yeah, I
What's-
coached him.
It's probably fair to say a turf field, it looks better than the field out at Bastrop looks better now, right? All right, so he's in support. All right, any other questions on the consent agenda items? I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Please raise your hand. Motion carries. All right, thank you. Moving along here to our action items, we will consider approval of memorandum of understanding between the Capital Area Council and Scouting America and Bastrop ISD. Our presenter is Scott Bunch, our police chief. Welcome, Chief.
Dr. Lee and board, thank you. Dr. Lee mentioned it earlier, the partnerships, the relationships that we build in this county, it's incredible, and that's one of the first things I learned when I got here, is that's what we do. And I had the opportunity to meet with the Boy Scouts of America that have the camp right off of 1404 across from Lost Pines Elementary. After the tragic event that happened at Camp Mystic in Kerrville, these camps need to have plans in place. What if? Much like schools have to have what if. And so meeting with them, we came up with this what if plan. And so what we'd like to do is we have a memorandum of understanding with the Boy Scouts that if an event happens, that we'll be able to go right across the road and that we'll give them access to Lost Pines Elementary. It's not when school's in session. It's typically during the summertime. It's on weekends. And what the memorandum would do is they would call me. I would go grant them access. If they needed buses, we'd call Gold Star. Just being partnerships with them and knowing what the Boy Scouts of America do for these young people in our country and being able to partner with them, I think it's something that Bastrop Independent School District would be proud to do.
This would be for the purpose of possibly recommunicating? I mean,
Reunification site, as Bastrop is keenly aware of, fire is the biggest threat. And being able to evacuate immediately, get to a location inside with air conditioning, with food, water, restrooms, that kind of thing, until we can get them safe. And so that's what this memorandum does.
All right, any other questions for Chief Bunch?
No, just thanks for putting that together. When I first saw this, I thought, well, yeah, we're going to help. I mean, we help in emergency situations, but the fact that there's a plan set forth so that things like that don't happen like it did previously, I appreciate you being forward-thinking like that. Thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions from the board? All right, I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Capital Area Council and Scouting America and Bastrop ISD as presented. We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief. I move along to information items. Our Board of Trustee calendar of events is for information only, as well as our enrollment, as well as our CH local single budget purchases over $50,000 or more for information only, which moves us to a report on the board members' continuing education hours. Per the State Board of Education rule, each board member must require continuing education annually. As the board president, I'm required to report which members have met, exceeded, and/or deficient in training requirements. Training is measured from the trustee's education/appointment date of 2 years anniversary and prior training. Number one is local district orientation completed, required first year trustee Josh Coy. Number two, orientation to the Texas Education Code completed, that required first year trustee Josh Coy. Number three, post legislation update to the Texas Education Code completed by Carol Armstrong, Kelly Seacatch, Josh Coy, Priscilla Ruiz, Chris Dillon, Dr. Matthew Mix, and Ashley Muchink. Number four, team building was completed by Carol Armstrong, Kelly Seacatch, Josh Coy, Priscilla Ruiz, Chris Dillon, Dr. Matthew Mix, and Ashley Muchink. Moving along to number five, evaluating student academic performance and setting goals was completed by Josh Coy. And number six, identifying and reporting abuse, trafficking, and other maltreatment of children was completed by Carol Armstrong, Kelly Seacast, Josh Coy, Priscilla Ruiz, Chris Dillon, Dr. Matthew Mix, and Ashley Muchink. Number seven, school safety was also completed by Carol Armstrong, Kelly Seacatch, Josh Coy, Priscilla Ruiz, Chris Dillon, Dr. Matthew Mix, and Ashley Muchink. Additional continuing education. The following board members have all exceeded the additional continuing education requirements by, we have Dr. Mix with 5.25 hours. We have Chris Dillon and Ashley Muchink at 9 hours of additional hours. We have Kelly Seacatz at 10 additional hours. Josh Coy at 10.5 hours. And we have Carol Armstrong at 29 hours. And then we have our full-time school board trustee, Priscilla Ruiz, at 73.5 hours. So thank you for all your time and dedication.
Overachiever.
Mr. White will have your check in the mail for all the overtime. All right, moving along to a closed session. The board will now convene into a closed meeting to discuss the following items posted on our agenda this evening, allowed by the Texas Government Code 551.071 and 551.074. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of discussion in the closed session will take place after the board reconvenes in the open meeting. It is now 7:33 p.m. and we will convene into closed session. Y'all ready to go? All right, the time now is 7:59 PM, and the board will now reconvene into open session. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I move to adopt the resolution approving contingent fee legal services contract, including findings needed for submission of contingent fee legal services agreement and request for expedited review by the Texas Attorney General as presented.
We have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Does it have a second? All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving along here to item B, consider an adoption of contingent legal fee service agreement with Eland and Bowen PC and O'Hanlon and Metro and Castro PC. See if we all can repronounce those.
Is that the motion, or are you asking?
No, I'd go ahead and reread that if I was you.
Would you like me to? Okay. I
Yes.
move to adopt the contingent fee legal services agreement with Elin and Bonin PC and O'Hanlon, Demerith, and Castillo PC as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carried. Nicely done, Dr. Mix.
Thank you.
All right, moving along here to consider and approve the term and probation contracts for teachers as recommended by the administration.
I move to approve the term and probationary contracts for teachers as recommended by the administration as presented.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries. Move along to item D, consider.
No.
Well, we won't do that. We're just going to not do item D there. Moving along to number 8, do we have any objections to adjourning this meeting? If there are none, meeting adjourned. Thank you.